Everyone, thank you for joining us on this very important Sustainable Table webinar focused on addressing food insecurity and hunger. I'm Jayshree Bhatt, Assistant Vice President for the Office of Professional Education and Workforce Development. October is designated as Zero Hunger Month. To commemorate this important occasion, our guest speakers today will focus on how society can address hunger and ensure access to nutritious food. At Campus Food Security Initiative, we are interested in addressing hunger on campus by fostering healthy eating habits and creating easy access to locally grown and locally sourced fresh produce. So we're excited to bring you this webinar and we know that you will get it will get the conversation started in the right direction. Today, Mr. Cosme Rubalcaba, graduate student in Masters in Dietetics, who also serves as the president of Student Academy for Nutrition and Dietetics Student Organization, will speak to our guests. First, we will hear from Ms. Rachel Villarreal, Clinical Associate Professor and Program Director for MS in Dietetics. And for the second half of the program, he will talk to Mr. Jaime Richardson about how the food pantry on campus serves our students in various ways. At the end of the program, we will have some time for question and answers. So just so that everyone is aware, we are simultaneously live casting this program so that our followers on Facebook and YouTube can watch it live. Please post any questions you may have in the chat, and we will answer them at the end. Without any further ado, let me bring in Cosme Rubalcaba. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Bhatt. Appreciate it. So October is designated as Zero Hunger Month. Professor, can you tell us a little bit of the history of this initiative?
Sure. Zero Hunger originated back in 2012 from the United Nations. Of course, we were at the time they were looking at sustainability initiatives, but they realized one of the sustainability issues was that a lot of people were going hungry. And there's a lot of statistics even to date that shows how many people actually go to bed hungry and are food insecure. So with that, we have about 800 billion people worldwide, million people worldwide that actually go hungry. In this country, we have about 11% of our population that goes hungry and are food insecure. And especially in our Hispanic population, which is here in the Rio Grande Valley, we have about 17% that go hungry or food insecure on a regular basis. So that is kind of staggering statistics across the world and in our own communities here, which we need to address. So with that hunger initiative that they had, they basically were looking at 5 elements that all center around sustainability, fed basically. So what they wanted to do was kind of change that narrative, really, so that people globally, locally, regionally, they all kind of work together to solve this hunger problem so that we could have people fed and live longer and healthier lives, basically.
That's great. So can you name us those 5 elements?
Sure. The first one is all food systems are sustainable. The second one is an end to rural poverty. Third one is an end to food waste, which is a huge problem. And the fourth one is access to not only food, but adequate food, but healthy foods. And lastly, ending malnutrition for all people all over the world.
That's great. So let's talk about the first sustainable. It's all food systems are sustainable.
Right. So that's kind of a big term there. So first of all, I'd like to define it a little bit for everybody. So basically, a sustainable food system is one that delivers food security and nutrition across all food systems. So we're looking at not just what we get in the grocery store, but we're looking at how does it impact the economy? How does it impact socially? And how does it impact our environment? So those 3 big over-encompassing things. And I know that's kind of like a large subject, right? For us local. But it is important because if the farmer can't plant it because they don't have enough funds or seeds or economically enough water locally to actually grow food, that's going to be a problem because we can't get the food to the people. Socially, we need to be able to, again, get the food to the communities that need it most. And then lastly, we want to make sure that our environment is protected. We want to make sure that it's either neutral to our environment or it's a positive effect on our environment instead of being a negative effect on our environment.
Great. So can you expand to us a little bit more on what this means for us locally?
Sure. One of my biggest gripes about this particular problem is that we have a lot of influencers online, like say on Instagram, on Facebook, and they make all these claims about you shouldn't eat this and you shouldn't eat that. You shouldn't eat foods in a can. You shouldn't eat foods that are in the freezer section. You shouldn't eat foods in a package. Well, what does that do for all those people out there that's what all they can afford? It's disheartening.
True, yeah.
I mean, they think, oh my gosh, I can't buy canned green beans because it's going to hurt my child. So basically, that's called food shaming. And it's one of the worst, in my opinion, one of the worst things that can happen, because all those foods out there in our food system can be included in a healthy diet. You can certainly eat canned foods. You can certainly eat frozen fruits and vegetables, frozen meats. A lot of the times as you know, you're learning in the classes that
Yes,
you're
right.
taking, that there are foods that are grown here in the valley that are taken to HEB or, up into a distribution center in San Antonio, and then they come back so that we can eat them 7 days later. So most of our fresh fruits and vegetables in our grocery stores, fresh, are basically 7 to 10 days old. So frozen is harvested, quick frozen, and put in the freezer section. So actually, those can have a little bit more nutrition than one from the grocery store. So I think it's important to get that out there about food systems, that a lot of different foods can be fine to eat and all foods can be included as long as we're trying to eat healthier on a regular basis.
That's great. All great points. So that leads me to my next topic. So ending rural poverty is the second element to food sustainability. That seems like a large goal. What are some small steps that we can take as a society to accomplish this?
Sure. We do have a lot of rural poverty, especially locally, right? Across this country and especially locally. And we have things called food deserts where people are not able to get to the food, the healthy food, the adequate food that they need. Especially, for example, I live in San Carlos, which is a little area between Elsa and Edinburgh. And basically we have a dollar store and a convenience store. We don't really have a lot of access to even canned goods, frozen foods, anything like that. And you think about the people in these communities, they may not be able to drive. They may not have a vehicle. So we need to get those foods into those places. So that's number one. We need to partner with local farmers maybe to get those products into those smaller communities. Another thing is gardening. Okay. There's actually a lot of places around our community that does community gardening. Of course, we have one here on campus, and I won't speak to that yet because we're going to get to that later. But we have Edinburgh has a community garden that you can participate in at Edinburgh Municipal Park. Even in my little area, my little spot in San Carlos, we have a community garden at the local WIC that you can be a part of. And most of the residents in that area can actually walk there. So getting more education about that and getting people involved, because I think if you get yourself involved in like actually gardening or planting the food and seeing it grow and harvesting it, you'll be more likely to eat it, right?
Exactly. So that leads me to my next question. Food waste is another element of ending hunger. How do we do our part to end food waste?
Right. So food waste is I'm a registered dietitian, right? Is another one of my biggest pet peeves, right? We don't like food to go to waste anywhere, from the field to the grocery store to our homes, So unfortunately, 43% of the food that people buy, fresh.
Oh, wow.
It's a huge number, a huge percentage. About 220 pounds per person is wasted every year because we buy too much, or there's a lot of factors that go into that. But one thing we can do, like you asked me, what can we do for food waste? Buy what you need. Don't buy too much. Look at what you're going to be doing for the whole week. Say, I need 4 apples. You can even do it as small scale as that, right? But you can, plan your meals on the weekend, make sure you're going to the grocery store and getting just what you need so that you're not throwing it away at the end of the day. If you do make a large amount of food, you can meal prep, right? You can freeze it if you can into smaller portions so that you can access it easier later, take it for lunch the next day. A lot of times we make these big meals and then we don't eat the leftovers. We just throw them in the trash. Share them with a neighbor, share them with your friends, invite people over. I have some extra food, come on over. Things like that. So that's personal things you can do. On a bigger scale, local farmers are more than willing to let you actually go into their fields after they've harvested, because there's a lot of food waste in that area too. It's only about 19%. It's not as much as what we waste in our own homes, but with farmers, after they actually harvest their food and it goes to market, the harvesters usually only get the good stuff, right? All the pretty things that have no blemishes, no dents, none of that on there. So with farmers, you can actually pair with them. Community organizations can pair with farmers. Individuals can pair with farmers and say, after you're done harvesting, can we go in the field and get whatever we want? They're more than willing to say, sure, go get whatever you want. They're just going to till it under. It's going to be gone. So we need to tap into that and get those, dented foods or, not so pretty foods and get it. They taste the same, have the same nutrition, doesn't matter, but we need to access those and get those. I grew up on a farm and we actually did that last year, and we helped provide food to the food pantry here at UTRGV. We had a bunch of our students, shout out to my undergraduate nutrition club. We actually went out and harvested what was left over, and I think we got 50 pounds of food that we donated to the food pantry. So it can be done. We just need to kind of work together to eliminate food waste.
Awesome. So that leads me to my next question. So how can we end hunger through having access to adequate food and healthy meals?
Right. So I think it kind of piggybacks on that food waste issue, is pairing with local farmers. And also either large or small, it doesn't matter. They all have extra, they all have excess, and making sure that we get those healthy foods from the farm to somebody's table, so that we can all enjoy them together and take part in healthy. And like I said, it doesn't have to be fresh. So doing your canned, doing your beans, doing your lentils, doing those types of things as well, because they are very healthy. Lean meats, all can be included in a healthy eating plan.
Awesome. So the next question is, the last element to having zero hunger was to end malnutrition in all its forms. What is malnutrition and how can we prevent it?
So malnutrition is a huge problem. So there are a lot of adults, a lot of children that actually suffer from malnutrition. So malnutrition is basically caused by not having enough food, not having adequate access to food, or maybe your body doesn't quite absorb it correctly. But in this instance, for food insecurity, we don't really have access to the food, or we don't have access to the right foods, right? So malnutrition is actually overnutrition, like obese, and actually be malnourished because they are not getting enough of the right nutrition, right nutrients for their body. So this can lead to a lot of problems. It can lead to people getting sick more often, or not recovering from sickness as quickly. So we need to really address that. In addition, if you don't get a child adequate nutrition in the first 1,000 days, they're more likely to have stunting and not reach their full growth potential. And it also affects their mind. So they might have, it doesn't allow them for that growth either. So we need to make sure that we're actually getting that adequate nutrition to that vulnerable population, pregnant mothers and children, which WIC is one of those nice organizations that can help with that, giving them access to healthy foods so that they are not malnourished.
Great. So what are some of the programs available for people that are food insecure?
So the first one, and a lot of people know about this one, of course, is SNAP. You can apply to SNAP and get funds that way. The key here is using your SNAP funds to buy healthier foods, right? You don't want to use it to buy sodas and chips and all these sugary items and beverages. So instead, trying to make that dollar work differently for you and buy things like dried beans, canned foods, frozen foods, fresh fruits and vegetables, and lean meats as well. So kind of tailoring it that way. You can actually also use your SNAP benefits for certain farmers markets as well. So when you go, you just ask how you can do that. And sometimes they'll give you a token so that you can use your SNAP benefits at a farmer's market to get locally grown foods as in addition. Another community resource would be the food bank. And so I would sign up for like Facebook or Instagram with them, like following them, because they'll tell you when they're going to be doing their next distribution. Like we got a big load of cabbage. We're going to be giving it out on Thursday. And so you can just drive by and pick up your local vegetables and no questions asked, you know. And then we also have loaves and fishes. And I think one's in Raymondville, and your hometown, yes, Raymondville. And another one is in Harlingen. And they're also kind of the same, like the food bank, just a different organization, right? And then, of course, those are local companies or local resources, but you also have some resources here on our campus at UTRGV. So with that being said, I think we do have some...
Ms. Bott and Mr. Richardson to talk about that.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. That was wonderful. You all shared the resources that are available in the community, but I also want to take a moment to talk about what we're doing on campus at UTRGV campus to address food insecurity. So there are a lot of resources available to our students, but a lot of times students are not aware how to access them. So our goal is to build a really strong network of faculty stakeholders that address food insecurity in various ways. And so in order to do that, what we've done is we've created this sustainable food network on campus. And that includes the community garden, as you can see behind me. The campus community garden is basically garden beds that are managed by various student organizations that grow beautiful produce. Pretty soon, in the next month or so, they'll be ready for harvest, and we will be holding an event, harvesting event as well. But going back to how we address food insecurity, we work really closely. The Campus Food Security Initiative's food research team works really closely with the food pantry on campus. You know, whether it's Edinburgh or Brownsville, a lot of times students are not aware that food pantry makes the same items that the food bank of RGV makes available to the community, but here on campus. So what we're doing is we are collaborating with Food Pantry on campus so that we can use their items. And then our food research team, combines them with, the fresh produce to create these wonderfully delicious food that tastes high end, but at the same time, very easy to prepare. And we also include recipe cards so the students can follow them very easily as well. So since we're talking about Food Pantry, I really want to take a moment right now to bring in Mr. Richardson, Jaime Richardson, who is the program manager, who also, in addition to his other duties, oversees the food pantry on campus. And Cosme will be leading the interview with Mr. Richardson. Yes, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Richardson.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for your time. So my first question that I have for you is, what is the mission for the UTRGV Student Food Pantry?
Well, the mission is to assist students in need by providing food supplements for those who have been impacted either with financial issues and that are having trouble meeting their basic nutritional needs. So we feel that, hey, you know what, we need to get out there and provide some type of supplement for our students.
Okay, so how do you serve the UTRGV students?
Well, we provide an easy way, specifically in reference to the access, by providing products, and basically almost like having the food bank is pretty much the majority of where we get our food is from the food bank from the Rio Grande Valley, but yet we have it here on campus. So we make it available for our students both on Edinburgh and Brownsville so that they can make a meal.
Okay, sounds great. So how do you source the food items available at the food pantry? Can you give examples of the types of items available to the students?
Yes, well, the majority of the food comes from the food bank, like I said, but the rest of them come from local food drives and donations. And some of the stuff that we have it's mostly canned. So we have canned spinach, canned potatoes, grapefruit juice, pastas, canned fruits, and we have frozen produce. We have frozen chicken breasts, frozen pork patties, and we have also canned meat, canned Vienna sausages, your spam. So your basic stuff that you would see on the Rio Grande Food Valley Food Bank, but we have it here locally for our students on both campuses.
That's great. That's great. So how can students access the food pantry?
As long as they're currently enrolled student, they have access to the services. So all they have to do is just fill out the enrollment form, and then they can have access to they can just enroll in one. As long as they're enrolled in one course for that semester, they have access to the food pantry.
Okay. So how can students order items from the food pantry, and how do they pick up orders, and what are your operating hours?
Well, the students can come to the food pantry on Tuesdays between 2 and 5 p.m. and then on Fridays between 1 and 4. They can pre-order online and they can pick the items that they want. So it's pretty much like a pre-order. So if they pre-order on Tuesday, on Monday, they pre-order on Monday, they can pick up their items on Tuesday between 2 and 5, like I said, or they can pre-order on Wednesday and Thursday and then pick up their items on Friday. So we try to make it easy for them so they can do everything online, pick what they want. We prepare the bags for them with their produce. And then on the days that the distribution is between those hours, and all I have to do is come in between those hours, and we make sure that they have the products available for them.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that information. So can you share with to the people watching how they can volunteer or donate?
Yeah, we have donation bins that are clearly labeled on both campuses. So they're yellow and they specifically indicate for our food pantry. So we check daily and we do receive a lot of donations, and we do appreciate it because it helps make sure that the food's not going to waste, and then we're giving it to our students that are in need. The way you can volunteer, we have a program here through the engagement zone. So you have to register through the engagement zone, and then you have to take a food handlers training course on Blackboard, and you have to provide a certificate of completion. Once you do that, then you can come on board and we can assist you in reference to your volunteering hours.
Okay. Mr. Richardson, thank you so much for your time today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you both so much. So at this point, what we'd like to do is take on some questions that the audience has posted on our Facebook, on YouTube. So let's start with this. Where can we find the food pantry? That's a really important question. Jaime, please take it over and answer the question.
Yeah, on the Brownsville campus, it's located in Calvary Hall. It's right across from the bookstore on the Brownsville campus. And on the Edinburgh campus is at the University Center on the first floor. So there's two entrances. So it's not on the main entrance. On the back entrance, you'll find food pantry. So those are the locations for both our campuses.
Great. The next question is, where can we find the form?
The form is online, so all you have to do is go to the main webpage and just put food pantry, and then on the main page you'll see enrollment, and then the order form. So you can go there and enroll. It's all electronic, and that's what you have to do, and you'll be set.
Yes, the website for Food Pantry is being flashed on the screen right now, so you can take a note of that. Yes. All right. So we have some questions that Professor Vial might have to answer, so we brought her back on the screen. Yes. All right. So in what way did COVID-19 impact the agricultural production and food security? That's a good.
That's a really good question, because I think that during 2012, when they decided to do this, of course we didn't know the pandemic was going to happen, but it really increased the level of food insecurity all around the world and in this country. I mean, it's really impacted in every facet, of course, from having access to food, just being able to buy food, from consumers not having jobs, being let go and not having access to food. And then, of course, the people that work in the fields, the farmers themselves, the prices, not being able to hire enough workers. So it's kind of really shown the gamut, really, from the production side all the way to down to the consumer side, and we've had a large increase in the number of food insecure individuals in the United States and worldwide because of it.
Bit because we launched the Campus Food Security Initiative in April of 2020 at the height of the pandemic. So in addition to the issues that farmers were facing, people just could not even go to grocery store, access fresh produce. They were stranded at home. So we were able to start these Fridays, fresh produce market, where the campus community can go in, open air, access a bag of produce and also freshly prepared meal and walk away. So we addressed it that way. But I know that in addition to that, farmers also had either excess produce, they didn't know what to do with it because they didn't have the consumers ready to buy them, or like she said, there were not enough workers available to work in the farm as well. So it addressed the supply and the demand side tremendously during the pandemic. So the next question is, in what way was that? Okay, is there a difference in organic produce and produce that is not labeled as organic? That is an excellent question as well.
That is an excellent question. So yes, there is a difference. By definition, organic is not. They don't have certain chemicals that are allowed to be sprayed on or near the produce, the fruits, vegetables, or even cattle, the feed that goes into them. Also, the ground can't have any pesticides or herbicides or anything within the last 3 years. So it has to be completely furlough for 3 years, or they can grow something on it, but it can't be labeled organic until then. But as far as nutritionally, there is no difference. So as far as organic versus conventionally grown produce, they have the same nutritional value. They have the same vitamins and minerals. They have the same protein, carbohydrates, as their counterparts. So either is very acceptable.
The only thing that people have to remember perhaps is when they use non-organically grown produce, they may have to wash it a little bit more to wash off some chemicals that might be there on the surface. Do you agree, or maybe not?
I mean, of course, we always want to wash our fruits and vegetables, no
Yes.
matter if they're organic or not organic.
Yes.
Actually, organic you would want to wash more because of the possibility of contamination from
Okay.
animal
Okay.
contamination and natural fertilizers that they put on that can contain E. coli and things like that. But as far as pesticides use in this country, pesticides, herbicides, all those types of things in this country, it's highly regulated. And so a farmer cannot spray a certain, or apply a certain chemical with so many days of harvest. And then they actually test those fruits and vegetables to make sure that there is no pesticide residue or it's within certain limits before it actually gets to the consumer. So it is very safe. It is very safe in this country.
That's definitely very important information that you shared today. Are there any other questions that we need to ask? Oh, I guess somebody wanted to know if there are additional student, the garden beds available for organizations. Unfortunately, not for this growing season. They were advertised heavily through our channels as well as all of our stakeholders or through the Sustainable Food Network on campus. But for this season, all of the garden beds are taken, as you can see behind me, but perhaps the next growing season. All right, in what ways can we support zero hunger from home? I know that you answered it partially initially when you were talking about it. Perhaps you could repeat it.
Just some of the easy ways: food waste, making sure that you're using all the food you have. If you have extra, of course, invite friends, share with others, and then partner with local community gardens, farmers, so that you can actually get that food to where it needs to go, to the people that actually need it.
All right, it looks like we're done for the questions for today. I really want to take a moment to thank both of you for participating in this discussion. And we hope that this will really get the conversation started about how to address food insecurity, hunger, not only on campus, not only in our community, but globally as well. So we're planning to host many more of these type of sessions in the future. We would love for the community to tune in. We will be advertising them as they are being prepared. And I also want to take a moment to thank Cosme, who did a tremendous job of being the person that asked all the probing questions so that we could get all the answers yes. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for tuning in as well this afternoon, and have a wonderful Friday afternoon and a nice weekend as well. Thank you all so much. And I think our website should be flashed in the bottom, correct? The CFSI website, utrgv.edu/PEWD/CFSI. That's our website address. Please check it out. Follow us on social media so that you don't miss out on future sessions like this. Mm-hmm. And saying bye to you all from the campus community garden this afternoon.